Okay. Good evening, members. Welcome to this meeting of the Braintree District Council Cabinet meeting. Normal housekeeping, there is no fire procedures expected this evening, so if in the event of the alarm going off, we will exit by the appropriate doors and gather outside should the need arise. Right, I will, and there is one item on the agenda, agenda item 7, which has a private private and confidential paper to it. When we get to that, I will ask members if anybody wishes to refer specifically to the private and confidential. If not, we will take the whole item in public session as is our normal procedure, but I'll do that when we get there. So without more ado, I'll ask for, well, we have apologies for absence. I've been informed that there are apologies from Councillor Jackie Pell. Are there any other apologies from members? And I have apologies from officers with...
Sorry, Chairman, Councillor Dervish has just indicated...
sorry, Councillor Dervish, I beg your pardon.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Councillor Edwards is running late. Apologies for lateness.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Edwards, but we're expecting him to be here. Fine, thank you. And officers, Dan Gascoigne, Chief Exec, Suzanne Bennett, one of our Executive Directors, and Kim Mayo, our Monitoring Officer, have also sent apologies tonight because they are on a number of other things, just showing the amount of work that is going on at the present time. Right, without more ado, I'll go on to item 2, declarations of interest. I will ask all members who wish to declare the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interest or other registrable interest relating to items on the agenda, having regard to the code of conduct for members and having taken appropriate advice where necessary before the meeting. Does anybody wish to declare any interests?
Councillor Bowles, Chairman.
Councillor, Lynette Bowers-Flint, yes.
Thank you, Chairman. It's an MPI on Essex Air Quality Strategy item 8. I sit on the DNR committee at County Council, so they are the persons who make the decisions on the planning applications for this site. I also am responsible for air quality in this council, although neither this council or the county council are the regulatory of that site, of Rivenall site. I think it's best if I leave the room at that time and my able deputy will take the item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. Good evening, Councillor Edwards. Okay. Right. If there are any other declarations of interest? No. In which case I'll move on to item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. The meeting of the 22nd of September. They have been circulated. Are you happy that I sign them as a true record? Agreed. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right, item 4, public question time. We don't have any members of the public who wish to address the committee, but we do have one member of the council, Councillor Staines, who wishes to put a question. I've agreed under para 13.10 of our constitution that he come and put his question. Councillor Staines.
Thank you, Chair, members of the Cabinet and other members. That's a very brief question tonight, you'll be pleased to hear. The Council's current air quality monitoring measures only NO2, nitrous oxide. How will the Council improve its air quality monitoring approach to address the changed air quality risk profile? And I've outlined some of those on a chart with my notes.
Fine.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving due notice, because it means we're able to get the answer for you this evening rather than do that in writing. The answer to the question is that Braintree District Council has no identified air quality management areas and has no exceedances of nitrous oxide above national objective levels. The Council has 31 NOx, nitrous oxide, monitoring sites across the district, and we have purchased 3 air quality monitoring devices which will be installed in early 2026. These devices will monitor PM1, PM2.5, PM10, nitrogen oxide and nitrogen dioxide. The new target legislation for PM2.5, introduced by the Environment Targets (brackets Fine Particulate Matter) close brackets Regulations 2023, is to be monitored nationally by a network of, quote, automatic urban and rural network monitors, being installed and expanded by DEFRA and reported on by UKAIR. Sorry for the jargon, but that's what it is. The 3M CERT monitors that the Council is installing will provide support to the DEFRA network, as the local findings will be reported via the Council's annual status report. For information, the sites for the 3 air quality monitoring devices are Coggleshaw, Notley Road and Hatfield Peveril, and these have been identified by the service, and the equipment will need to stay in place for at least 6 months to accurately baseline emissions. Hopefully that answers that question. Thank you very much. I see a thumbs up from Councillor Staines. Right, let us then move on to item 5, Framework for Grounds Maintenance Equipment. Members will find this on page 6 of the agenda, and I call upon the relevant Cabinet member to move that. Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Chairman. The Essex Procurement Partnership, which brings together Braintree District Council, Epping Forest District Council, Castle Point Borough Council, Essex County Council and Tendring District Council, works collaboratively to secure framework agreements for a wide range of goods and services. This approach not only meets our council's own supply needs, but also generates income for those partners who were previously part of the procurement hub, led by our council, helping to offset the cost of procurement. The previous framework agreement for grounds maintenance equipment came to an end in February 2024. Due to competing priorities and no urgent need at the time, the re-procurement process was delayed. However, we have now completed the re-procurement with the intention to award the new agreement in December and commence operations in January. The last framework generated £28,668.68 in income over its 4-year term. For this new cycle, we anticipate an increase to £31,530, reflecting the strong interest we've already received from potential users. Of this, Braintree District Council is expected to receive approximately £15,765 based on a 50% share. This projection is in line with previous contributions to the former procurement hub. Additionally, we have advertised a higher framework value to allow for future growth. A tender notice in Find a Tender service will be published, inviting companies to tender for a place in a national framework agreement available to all UK public sector bodies for the supply of a range of grounds maintenance equipment, including but not limited to tractors, mini diggers, streamers, chainsaws, ride-on mowers and leaf blowers. The framework will be available for a period of 4 years from the 1st of January 2026 until the 31st of December 2029. The detailed timeline for the procurement is detailed within the Cabinet report. The recommended option is to provide the Corporate Director for Support Services with a delegated authority to approve the framework award once a thorough procurement process has been completed. By doing so, we can establish the framework swiftly, enabling service users to begin utilising contracts without delay and ensuring the Council receives any applicable rebates. Therefore, I'm happy to move the recommendation as set out in page 6 of tonight's report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Bowers has formally moved the recommendation. Is it seconded? Thank you. Open for any comments, questions or discussion? Councillor Cunningham?
No, nothing hugely to add, Chairman. Just to say I think it's positive that we continue to use the relationships we have with existing local authorities in the world of procurement, trying to get a better deal across the board for taxpayers. We haven't needed to be thrown together a new local government boundary through local government boundary reform. We've done this instinctively, and I think these sort of arrangements are serving us well at the moment and bode well for the future. So a positive paper, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Any other comments from anyone? No? In that case, are you happy to accept the recommendation as moved by Councillor Bowers? Agreed. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, the inter-authority agreement for provision of sorting and marketing of mixed recyclate. Members, you'll find this on page 11 of your agenda, and Councillor Cunningham will introduce the paper and move the recommendations.
Chairman, thank you. This is the paper that has two recommendations. Firstly, in order to secure arrangements for the provision of sorting and marketing the dried mixed recyclate collected by BDC, including the duration of any agreement and investment opportunities. We, for many years, have had excellent relationships with Suffolk County Council and their mixed recycling facility, and arrangements have worked extremely well in the past. The Environment Act of 2021 set out the requirements for all English local authorities to collect a consistent set of recycling materials. As from 2026, the Council is required to collect metal, plastic, glass, paper and card, all from residential properties. The regulations specify that collections from Bring Banks will no longer be compliant, meaning the Council's had to review its own collection methodology. And as discussed previously, the new collections will commence in June 2026. In 2020, the opportunity for a capital investment was made in the facility, all with a view to reduce the gate fee of access, and this is to be considered for renewal, with a recommendation for a final decision on the capital investment to go to full council. Through this process, we have undertaken benchmarking in terms of comparable processes and prices, and some of the conclusions of that are embedded in the report. We need this contract for service continuity, and therefore the three options would be to purely just enter the new inter-authority agreement with Suffolk County Council to provide for the mixing and sorting and marketing of a mixed dry recyclate for a period of 13 years with the option of a break clause after 6 years. This would seem appropriate with LGR, and it would be quite likely that this arrangement, once things become clearer with LGR, could be scaled up to accommodate a larger authority if that was deemed appropriate and proportionate by whatever form the successor authority takes. Chairman, I'm just very, very conscious that there's obviously a natural instinct for caution at the moment, balancing the need for service continuity to renew contracts against the unknowns of local government reform. And I just wanted to make an assurance at that point. That's very much in our considerations at this moment in time, and therefore the break clause, I think, of 6 years is quite significant. The second option is to not only enter the new contract, which we need to do, but also to make a recommendation for council for a capital investment of over £1 million to ensure a reduced gate fee for the life of the contract. The annual estimated reduction through this in gate fee is just over 189,000, totalling £2.5 million over the full 13 years. And it is likely that the extended producer responsibility grant that we receive from central government in order to help facilitate these changes to the collection methodology, it is anticipated once we have greater awareness of the precise amount, that capital could be used to part fund this investment. So the financial capital outlay from this authority would be considerably reduced as a result. The third option would be to do nothing, but as I said, there's the absolute criticality of getting a successor contract in place to deal with this recyclate is of the paramount importance. Chairman, I'd like to thank all the officers for the work on this and reviewing the various different options. Again, very difficult at the moment trying to make clear recommendations for service continuity against the current background of uncertainty. So therefore I'd like to move recommendations 2.1 and 2.2. 2.1 to enter into a new inter-authority agreement with Suffolk County Council for the sorting and marketing of mixed dry recyclate for a period of up to 13 years starting the 1st of June 2026, including a break clause after 6 years, and then to recommend to full council that council invests into the facility upgrades to achieve a per tonne saving on the gate fee of the recyclate sent to Great Blakenham Material Recycling Facility up to a maximum of £1,072,961 and makes appropriate budget provision. Thank you, Chairman. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cunningham has moved the recommendation. Is that formally seconded? Yes, thank you. Right, open for comment, discussion and questions. Anyone wish to raise any issues? Right, Councillor Mrs Beavis and then Councillor Heath.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Cunningham, for your update. I'm just not fully understanding what the actual upgrade is.
My mic's still on, so sorry, apologies for that. So the upgrade to the is a capital investment into the continual upgrade of the Great Blakenham facility, and the benefit to us as the local authority is that it actually reduces the gate fee per charge to take the material over the threshold into the depot. So not only are we investors in an improved facility of which we have had significant benefit of from a number of years and are planning to have a benefit from for a minimum of at least 6 years, it does reduce the gate fee considerably. So we are making a considerable saving as opposed to almost paying as you go with the trucks rolling into the facility.
Are you okay with that? Do you want to come back? Yeah, fine.
And thank you. And I can, go online and find out a bit more about this myself as well. So thank you, Councillor Cunningham. But so when we're talking about the gate fee, does everybody benefit? Because we wouldn't be the only ones using the facilities, would we? So are other authorities putting into this? And how's that worked out? Who are the benefactors? If we're putting in £1 million, is that going to benefit other councils? I guess is my question. Thank you.
Well, I think the major investment in the facility is Suffolk County Council, and presumably that some of their partner authorities. I'm just looking at Mrs. Rowe. I don't know if all of the Suffolk authorities use that. Do they? Some other Essex ones do as well, I think.
So it's Suffolk authorities, including the County Council and the collection authorities in that area, and we are part of that contract. So for those people that make that investment, they will get the reduced gate fee. If they don't make the investment, they won't.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Heath.
I think, Mr. Chairman, yeah, of course, with the changes in our own waste collection next year that everybody's aware of and everybody knows about, hopefully we're going to see an upturn in our recycling amounts anyway. So I think without there being any local government reorganisation, we are still going to produce rubbish. We are undoubtedly going to produce more of it. And I think the better way that we can get it recycled at a better cost and the investment is one that we must seriously look at and support.
Absolutely agree, and thank you very much, Councillor Heath, for support. As I said, hopefully we've got something here that is competitive, of a good value to the taxpayer, complementary with a big, huge step change we're going to be taking in terms of waste collection in June, but also safeguards for any future changes as well. Thank you.
Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Chairman. I think this is a fantastic deal for the residents of the Braintree district. Just back to the point around the capital investment, I think is a sound investment too, because it reduces our gate charges and therefore offers future benefits across the lifetime of the contract itself, whereby you'd like to hope that you get back for more than what you've paid in and invested for, and invest in facilities that increase the recycling rates achievable from those that are crossing the threshold to get their recycling recycled. With regards to those who, again, may be watching or may be listening around why set up a contract for such a long period of time, if we're going through the LGR change, well, I think it makes absolutely perfect sense to be ensuring that there's contracts that go past that date whereby we could be heading into local government reform. There's going to be so much on the agenda for any new council to look at with regards to procurement and contracts, etc., and services that have already been rendered. And no doubt there'll be a priority list, and this council will do everything it can do to help make that transition as seamless as it possibly can do. And I think we're duty bound to assist with that. There is the safety net, of course, of the 6-year break clause, so any new future council can take stock of the value of that service being received and change it if it needs to. But I think we're setting up any future council to be able to head into that with a good service on its hands. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Did you want to say anything on that, Councillor Cunningham?
Nothing else to add. Thank you very much.
Councillor Bowers.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, no, I'd just like to say that I fully support this, and I know we won't be going into this lightly. There's been a lot of work, or I'm sure there's been a lot of work in the background in regards the consideration of this and entering into a new agreement for the length that it is. I think from a finance point of view, I think it's a little bit of a sort of a no-brainer in that regard. As Councillor Cunningham mentioned, the annual reduction in the gate fee of around 189,000, but it's also the part in regards to the consideration that without the IAA, without the IAA new investment, the new gate fee would be proposed to be higher than we are currently paying now. Fully on board with this, conscious that there will be the outstanding financing sum that will be due to be paid next year as well, which is part of the budget that's coming to budget proposals coming to full council that encompass all that point, but it just totally makes sense from my point of view, and I welcome this and fully support it. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much. No other comments or questions? Councillor Cunningham has moved the recommendations in 2.1 and 2.2 of the report. Happy to accept those recommendations? Agreed. Thank you. We now move on to item 7, to award a contract for the revenue and benefits system. Members, this report does have a confidential appendix which is not for publication, as it includes exempt information falling within paragraph 3 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended. If any member wishes to refer to any aspect of that confidential report, we will need to consider that but going into private session at the end of this meeting. If no one specifically wants to refer to anything within that appendix, then we can take the whole item now in open session. Does any member wish to refer to anything that is contained wholly and solely within the confidential appendix? No? Right. In that case then, we will take it now, and I will call on Councillor Bowers to introduce agenda item 7, to award a contract for the revenues and benefits system. Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Leader. Our revenues and benefits system has been at the heart of our business critical activities since April 2003. This system has enabled us to efficiently manage council tax and business rates billing, collection and recovery, as well as the administration of housing benefit, council tax support and other income streams. Over the years, the system has been extensively enhanced and modified to meet evolving service needs and legislative requirements. Notably, it now includes document workflow functionality, which is integral to the day-to-day operations of our revenues and benefits team. This supports a paper-free working environment and enables electronic document storage and retrieval. In 2024, we upgraded the system to implement a new banded local council tax support scheme and adapted it to support hybrid mail for outgoing post. Further enhancements are underway, including the establishment of data transfer protocols with a waste management BARTEX system, which will streamline the administration of commercial waste accounts. It is important to know that our previously fixed period contract has expired, and the system is now supplied under a rolling annual contract. Changes in staffing over time have led to reduced transparency over the existing contractual terms, which poses a risk to the council should the supplier propose changes. While we previously considered reviewing the system and exploring options, these discussions coincided with collaboration with neighbouring councils on potential shared services. The move to a common system was integral to these proposals, and as a result, plans for re-procurement were paused. However, this issue has now been overtaken by local government reorganisation agenda. Changing our revenues and benefits system is a major undertaking. It would require extensive support from both the service and ICT teams, significant programme management, and would incur substantial one-off costs. Any change would need to be managed alongside the continued operation of the existing system, resulting in parallel contracts and increased revenue costs. There are limited suppliers capable of providing the required functionality, and predecessor authorities of a new unitary council, including Braintree, currently use different systems. It is therefore inevitable that a new unitary council will wish to consider its options for a longer-term preferred system solution. The transition to new unitary councils will involve the novation of existing contracts and the absence of a transparent contract for our current Civica system poses a transfer risk. Working with the Essex Procurement Partnership, we have identified that a direct award should be made to Civica for the existing system using the Crown Commercial Services RM6259 Vertical Application Solutions Framework. The new contract is proposed from the 30th of March 2026, which will be covered under explicit terms and conditions. The recommendations set out in this report will help the Council deliver its corporate priority of being fit for the future, particularly as we navigate the transition through to local government reorganisation. The recommendation is on page 8 as set out in tonight's report. Happy to move, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Councillor Bowers has moved the recommendation. Is that formally seconded? Yes, thank you. Right, open for discussion, questions, etc. Anybody wish to raise any issues on this? Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you. You may not be able to answer this. I was just thinking that in light of the recent cyber attacks in London, some of the London councils, whether you think it, and I know the recommendation is to stay with them, that perhaps it is the safest thing to do with regard to cyber attacks as well. But that might not be within your remit.
Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Leader. I think everything is taken into consideration, but from my understanding, nothing has been raised with me that would provide a risk to this authority in regards to this decision that we're making tonight. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? In the absence of that, you're happy to accept the recommendation as moved by Councillor Bowers? Agreed. Thank you. That will then, and that includes also the private appendix as well. Right, okay, we move then on to item 8, the adoption of the Essex Air Quality Strategy, which members will find on page 23. Councillor Lynette Bowers-Flint has withdrawn from, sorry, page 22, has withdrawn from the chamber. The paper will be introduced by her Deputy Councillor Toby Williams. He will move that, he will introduce the paper. Under the regulations, he can't recommend. I will formally make the recommendation when he has done that, and he certainly will answer all the questions because he actually knows what's in it. So without more ado, Councillor Williams, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Bowers-Flint's shoes are certainly large ones to fill, but I'll try my best this evening. The report before Cabinet today recommends the adoption of the Essex Air Quality Strategy. The strategy has been publicly consulted on, having been developed by the Essex Air Quality Consortium. The consortium includes Essex County Council, Borough, District, City and Unitary councils in Essex. The strategy strengthens partnership working on air quality matters and provides for a consistent approach across the county. Having a joint strategy in place provides greater opportunity for joint funding bids to secure external funding for air quality improvements. The strategy also ensures that councils in Essex have fulfilled their legal duty introduced by the Environment Act's secondary legislation to produce and publish an air quality strategy. The strategy comprises of 3 parts: a high-level summary document that includes the overarching aims and partnership actions, a more technical supporting information document that details the current air quality situation in Essex, and an action plan that details actions that are already or will be taken to improve air quality in the county. The strategy initially focuses on actions that will be taken over the period 2025 to 2029, but purposely has no end date, as the intention is that the strategy and its associated action plan will be updated over time to support delivery of the ongoing national air quality targets. There was a 12-week public consultation period facilitated by the County Council. Braintree residents engaged actively with the public consultation. Unsurprisingly, Riverall Incinerator was raised as a local concern. The incinerator is regulated by the Environment Agency, who are a statutory air quality partner, and we will continue to report any concern raised by residents to the Environment Agency for their information and action. The public consultation showed a very high level of support for the strategy, with 83% of all responders supportive of the overarching aims and actions. The strategy was adopted by Essex County Council in September, and the district, borough and city councils are following in their response. It is recommended that the Cabinet agree to the adoption of the Essex Air Quality Strategy and its associated documents.
Thank you very much, Councillor Williams. I will formally move the recommendation as contained in 2.1. Is that seconded? Great, thank you. Right, open for comment and discussion or observations. Anyone wish to contribute? Councillor Mrs Beavis.
Thank you, Chairman, and nicely presented, Councillor Williams. I just wanted to ask, there's no surprise that residents, I think, we're going to come back and flag up the incinerator. What were the other issues in the district that that sort of came through? Were there any sort of surprises, or I just wondered what other sort of level of comments came back? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. We may be able to, and I'll have to check this with officers, we may be able to get a breakdown to you. I don't have that information directly to hand, but what I can say, unsurprisingly, is the vast majority of respondents from Braintree responded along the lines of the incinerator. So they were raising concerns about the incinerator. I don't think that's a surprise, and I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing as well. And I think it does show that we have quite an engaged electorate in Braintree who are happy to engage with these sort of consultations and respond to them in the way they see fit.
Yes, come back.
Thank you, Chairman. Are we, when we mention Braintree, we are talking about the district, Braintree district. Is that what you're? Yeah.
That's correct. Yes, sorry, I should say Braintree district, not just the town. So yes, when we talk about the excellent engagement that has been had with the consultation, we're talking about the entire district. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? No? Are you happy then to accept the recommendation as set out in the report? Agreed? Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Williams, for ably standing in for Councillor Lynette Bowers-Flint. We'll just wait for Councillor Bowers-Flint to rejoin us. Right, we'll move on then to item 9, the medium-term financial strategy 2026-27 to 2029-30. Members will find this on page 123 of their agenda, and the paper will be presented by Councillor Bowers. Councillor Bowers, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. As part of our 2026-27 budget process, this is the Cabinet report regarding the medium-term financial strategy 2026-27 to 2029-30. As part of that process, initial budget proposals were presented to the Corporate Scrutiny Committee last week. A good debate was had, and a number of topics were discussed as part of the committee discussions, such as festive lights celebrations, climate change reserve and the uses of that monies, and LGR, just to name three of the topics that were discussed. Following that, as I mentioned on the evening, we heard the comments that were made, and consideration will be taken. They will all be taken on board, and consideration will be made ahead of coming back to the corporate scrutiny at the end of January. Obviously, at that time, we will have more information in regards to the local government finance settlement, and more detail in regards to what the final budget may look like at that time. In regards to tonight's report, bringing this to Cabinet, to provide an update on our financial position and highlight some key factors that will shape our budget planning, I'm pleased to report an improved position for 26-27 since February 25. The gap has been reduced from 2.2 million to 482,000. However, it is important to note that some of these improvements are due to one-off gains and may not be sustained in future years. Looking ahead, there are challenges. The shortfall across the MTFS increases to 2.8 million per annum by 29/30. This means we must continue to plan carefully and look for sustainable solutions. Council tax income is a crucial factor. Our forecasts assume the maximum increase permissible under the current referendum principle, which is less than 3%. This helps, but it doesn't fully address the funding gap. As I did mention on last Wednesday evening, it's being modelled on 3%, but no decision has been taken about council tax for the coming year. There are still several uncertainties to be confirmed and reflected in our plans. The pension fund triennial review and its impact on staffing cost and reserves, the local government multi-year finance settlement, including new burdens funding and payment for extended producer responsibility, the final council tax and business rate tax bases, and the outcome of the second quarter in year review and completion of detailed service budgets. We also face risks such as Essex County Council funding, including food waste, recycling credits and the sharing agreement, service review requirements and other operational challenges. While we've made some progress in reducing the immediate gap, longer term pressures remain. We must continue to monitor developments, manage risks and work together to ensure the Council's financial stability. Regarding the initial budget proposals, as contained in the report and as discussed last week, we are proposing to support festive celebrations in our three main towns. We're proposing to increase the amount given to each councillor in the Councillor Community Grant Scheme, increasing that to £1,500. In regards to repurposing reserves into our priorities, the Cost of Living Fund. At the Council meeting on the 27th of October, we reviewed the achievements and positive impacts of the Cost of Living Fund, which has provided £1 million in support to residents through partnerships with key stakeholders. Recognising ongoing challenges, the budget proposes to make the Cost of Living Officer role permanent. Additionally, we plan to repurpose existing reserves, allocating a further £400,000 for a 2-year support programme across 26-27 and 27-28. The Climate Change Reserve. Significant progress has been made in delivering the Council's Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan, supported by previous one-off funding. To maintain this momentum, it is proposed to allocate an additional £100,000 to the Climate Change Reserve. This continued investment will help drive further actions towards our climate goals. In regards to reserves and general balances, Transformation Reserve, the Fit for the Future programme, along with its various work streams, will continue until the end of March 28. Ongoing funding will be required beyond current commitments and allocations. It is proposed to merge the existing Transformation Reserve with the Corporate Improvement Reserve, creating a combined fund of approximately £650,000 for the next 2 years. LGR Transition and Service Delivery Reserve. A new reserve of £1 million will be established to support the Greater Essex LGR Transition Programme. This reserve ensures the authority can fully participate in the transition while maintaining capacity for business as usual activities up to the vesting date. During this period, there is an increased risk from third-party suppliers as businesses assess the impact of LGR on their operations. This reserve is not intended for one-off implementation costs for setting up new unitary councils. Those costs will require agreement among existing authorities, considering each authority's financial capacity. And just to sort of touch on the unavoidable pressures that we face, these pressures, including reductions in income, are necessary to maintain our current service levels. For the financial year 26-27, the total unavoidable costs are around £656,000. Looking ahead, there is a projected net reduction of £80,000 in the following year. The main reasons for these cost pressures are reduced income, new burdens, demand-led and operational cost pressures, and changes in contract prices. It's important to note that there are several areas of risk which could impact our finances. However, at this time, these risks are either uncertain or cannot be quantified. Examples include funding from Essex County Council, the Renters' Rights Act and the Building Safety Levy. Additionally, there are risks associated with key service changes such as the introduction of new waste collections from 2026 and the leisure management contract. These are closely monitored and kept under review. In summary, we face significant unavoidable cost pressures. We are actively managing the risks and reviewing key service changes to ensure financial stability. I will leave it there now, Chairman. Obviously, within the whole report is detailed, and also in the appendices in regards to the situation and the current situation as we move forward in the budget process, and that all the detail has been presented to members and or is contained in the report tonight. Happy to move the recommendation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Councillor Bowers has moved the recommendations in the report. First of all, are they formally seconded? Thank you. Right, open for comment and discussion. Anybody wish to say anything? Councillor Cunningham?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to Councillor Bowers for that. As Councillor Bowers says, still quite a bit of a way to go in the budget process, some clarity, but an awful long way has successfully been travelled in the budget process this year. And I think, bearing in mind, we keep talking about uncertainty. We've for several years, we've spoken about the difficulties and the pressures on local government. At this stage, still with a few months to go, we have a very, very positive emerging budget here, I think, with strong financial foundations, not just in terms of key service delivery, but thinking about the future, but also some potentially very, very beneficial additional investments in supporting the most vulnerable in the district, supporting the environment, supporting communities and economic prosperity. And I think at this stage of the process, to be able to have an emerging budget in such good shape, I think is a testimony to the authority of both members and officers. So very happy to support the recommendations this evening, and particularly just want to make a point about the local council tax supports scheme. This is obviously something that we review annually. I can remember going back as long ago as 2013, having to do, I think, the first review after it had been, or first review after changes to the system and it had been implemented. And I think we said back then that we have a very, very fair system, fair approach, and there's nothing in the subsequent 12, 13 years that has deteriorated, has meant that has deteriorated in any way whatsoever. I think we've got a very, very fair, very fair policy here that supports those that really need it. So that's another very encouraging recommendation in the emerging budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Any other comments or questions at all? Councillor Mrs Beavis.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Bowes-Flint, for another update on the Council's financial position. I just wanted to check on a couple of things, if I may. When we had the scrutiny meeting last week, a couple of the other areas we brought up was around more bulb planting and more tree planting as well. And I just wondered whether you're going to be taking that back and looking at making some adjustments in the budget provision. Also, we spoke about Rippers Court in Sybil Hedingham, and since the meeting I forwarded you some up-to-date photographs of the interior of that building, and I just wonder whether a provision will be made, whether it will be specific as to what might be happening in that building. And then finally, I just wanted to touch on Fit for Future and the funding going into LGR. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but in last year's budget, I'm sure we had a budget provision of £1 million for Fit for Future. I could be wrong on that figure. And now we're looking at another 650 over 2 years. And I wondered what specifically we're doing with that funding, and similarly with the 1 million for LGR. And I'm more than happy for a written response on that bit. I'm sure it's going to come in time to all members anyway, but I'm just quite curious. Thank you. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Chairman. In regards the bulb planting and the tree planting, those considerations are being taken. I meant that when I said the climate change reserve part of my speech just then, so that would come out of the climate change reserve. So yes, those points are being taken back and are being considered, along with, like I say, a number of topics that were made. In regards Rippers Court in Sybil Hedingham, as I presented on Wednesday, there is capital cost, or that is in the pipeline of projects. Obviously, you've now supplied some information for me on that, which I will be coming back to you with a specific update in a number of points you've raised on that asset. But the what we and the detail will be available as we move forward. But at the moment, we're obviously putting it as a pipeline project, because we're conscious that money does need to be spent on that. In regards the transformation reserve, I don't know if Councillor Cunningham wants to give any more information on that. I think we could probably provide members with a bit more detail in regards to what we've done to date on that. I think that the point that we make now, and we always will be making, is even though obviously LGR's on the horizon and we move forward with that, the point we're making is there is still business as usual, but in line with Fit for the Future, and there's some things that we still need to do. The Fit for the Future £650,000 includes 470,000 of the previous 1 million that was the uncommitted balance. So that piece, it's not on top. It's included in the uncommitted money that's still left in there on that. On the LGR point, at this stage, I think at this stage I can't sort of sit here and say exactly where that money will be spent, but it's about having that provision, because there will be a lot of work that will need to be done. To date, we haven't spent anything, but there's been a shed load of officer time in regards work that's already been done. But also, as I mentioned on Wednesday, when you look at other councils, I think as part of every council's going through their budget proposals, but I think at the moment it's been highlighted from, say, Chelmsford as an example for £4 million. You know, and I'm sure as we see proposals come from every council, there will be monies being put aside for that, because there will be a lot of work involved going forward. That's aside from what will be needed in regards setting up of unitary authorities, which will be a separate cost, which is unknown at the moment. But I can't give any further detail on what that money will be used for at the moment. But as has been always from the leader and from the chief exec, members will be kept updated as we move through the process, and I think that's what we've been up until now. But I think that's covered off all those points, leader.
Councillor Cunningham.
Yeah, so thank you. I mean, I think Councillor Bowers has given a very good whistle stop of some of the things it's been used for. Just in terms of the revenue side, in terms of the drawdowns on Fit for Future, quite a bit of that has been attributed to comprehensive service reviews across the organisation as part of the existing transformation programme. So looking fundamental service review, looking at where savings and efficiencies and better ways of working can be embedded in the current organisation, but also with a view to thinking that these could be lifted and shifted in terms of approaches into the new organisation. Some additional work around technology, making the technological system. So it's been a lot of behind the scenes bits and pieces that we've drawn down on that. In terms of the allocation, as Councillor Bowers quite rightly said, for the future, effectively the transition funding, that is a little bit, not quite a finger and thumb in the air and just trying to come up with a sum. It really is a best judgment at this period of time. I don't think anyone in the sector, if we're brutally honest, quite knows exactly what the to-do list will be and the actual full requirements of taking local government to its new destination and the change. So there is an allocation there. I think we look forward to clarity in the new year, not just in terms of the formation of the unitaries, but actually the statutory change order, which I think obviously puts the limitations and sets the course for the future. And it may well be in year in budget, we may have to take a pragmatic assessment and realise that reserve may need to be increased. But if we are in that position, we'll do that with the confidence that we know there are additional sums there we can draw down in order to make the transition as smooth as possible. But I think Councillor Mrs Beavers does make a very, very good point in referencing Fit for Future and transformation. And I know in the new year we will probably no doubt have, as always, a very extensive members development and members training programme. Chairman, through you, I do wonder if when we look at LGR in the new year, maybe we bring the Fit for Future programme back as part of that, and to give full members the opportunity to see how that's now dovetailing into the changing landscape. Maybe that's something we can reflect on and look to do in the new year.
I think that would be very sensible,
Thank you.
Councillor Cunningham. Any other comments at all? Councillor Heath.
What I would like to say, Mr Chairman, is I'd like to thank everybody that puts this report together, because myself I found it very easy to follow and delve into bits segment by segment, because it is broke down in such a way, and I do congratulate all those that have made it user friendly for people like me.
And people like me, Councillor Heath, I can assure you. I would just like to thank all my Cabinet colleagues and their officers for the huge amount of work that's gone in to getting us this far. I mean, if we didn't have, even if we didn't have LGR, there's a lot of difficult times from many local authorities in terms of setting budgets, etc., and with the change coming. And I very much hope and I believe that we will go forward into whatever the new world might bring with pride in the way in which we have handled our resources, not just over this year, but over many years. And whilst I look at some authorities, and I certainly won't name any names, who seem to think that the next 2 years is a wonderful idea to splurge everything and leave it for other people to pick up the bills, that we are not going to do that, because the other people who pick up the bills will be the council taxpayers. So I am extremely grateful for the approach that all my cabinet colleagues and their staff, although I can't see him because Councillor, yes I can now because he moved his head slightly, the part that is played by Phil Myers behind there in bringing it all together and actually producing reports which, as Councillor Heath quite rightly says, are readable and don't try and blind us with science, because this is a difficult time for the whole of local government, wherever you are in the country, whatever political persuasion you are. It is a real challenge, and it is not going to get any easier from what I can see. So thank you to all of you. So unless there's anyone else who wishes to say anything, Councillor Bowers has moved the 3 recommendations that are in the report. Are you happy to accept those recommendations? Agreed. Thank you. That then will take us on to item 10, which colleagues will find on page 146, I believe, of their agenda, which is the Strategic Risk Register. And my little fill-in hopefully gave you a chance to get your breath back, Councillor Bowers, before you introduce this paper on the Strategic Risk Register. Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Leader. As members will be aware, our Strategic Risk Register outlines the significant risks that could affect the delivery of our corporate strategy over the medium term. This register is a vital part of our overall approach to risk management, ensuring that we remain proactive and resilient in the face of potential challenges. The Strategic Risk Register was last agreed by Cabinet on the 27th of May, and we are committed to formally reviewing the strategic risks at least twice a year. The corporate management team, together with the relevant Cabinet member risk owners, have carefully reviewed the risks to ensure our arrangements remain robust and fit for the future. Recently, we have held a member development evening on the 8th of September, where all members had the opportunity to participate in a review and discussion of the strategic risks facing the Council and the draft updated register. This session generated wide-ranging discussion with valuable responses provided by Cabinet, members and senior officers. I am pleased to report that following this thorough review and engagement, no changes have been proposed to the strategic risks or the register at this time. By approving the Strategic Risk Register as set out in tonight's agenda, will help us maintain strong risk management arrangements across the delivery of our corporate strategy and ensure our organisation remains well prepared for the future. As part of that, Leader, I will move recommendation as set out in page 146 of tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Councillor Bowers has formally moved. It is seconded. Thank you. Open for comment or discussion. Councillor Mrs. Beers.
Thank you, Chairman. And just very briefly, Councillor Bowers, I missed the member training for this, and I just want to congratulate you actually on the way that you managed this through members' development, and I think it really does help shape the risk profile that we end up with, and I'm pleased, having fully read this actually, and this is one document that, as you know, I do really like to get into, but you'll be pleased to know I don't actually have any questions, but I have fully read it, and it is a really full and thorough report, and actually I do wish that some other authorities around Essex perhaps also did the same, because I think it's quite a model that others could learn from. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Bowers.
Yes, thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Beavers. And I know, obviously, you couldn't make it this year, but I know you actively normally take part in those evenings, and as do many members. And it's always a well attended and a good evening for us all to give sort of views on our strategic risks. And I know also within my comments and the report, it mentions about reviewing this twice a year, but it's something that's continually reviewed as we move through the year anyway, and that kind of thing. And below the strategic risks, obviously we have the operational risks, and those are monitored on a day-to-day basis as would be the case anyway. But no, I appreciate the comments, and yeah, it's a very transparent process in this council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see anybody else wishing to participate. You're happy then, members, to accept the recommendation and the strategic risks as set out in Appendix A of the report? Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That takes us to item 11, the scrutiny review into the North Essex Parking Partnership. This is a review which was carried out by Councillor Heath's committee. Councillor Heath, do you want to say anything before I say? It was remiss of me. I did mean to give you warning. I would give you the opportunity, and it can completely slip my mind. My apologies to you for that. But if you do want to say anything now, please feel free to do so.
I think it's just to say that the report is very thorough, and I do believe that if the North Essex Parking Partnership remain as open as they was when they came to the scrutiny committee and engage with the members, then whilst people will never be, they might not be traffic wardens now, but you know what I mean, will never actually be popular, they might be understood better. So I think, as I say, what they did then and what is laid out here is something that as an organisation I feel that we can support, definitely.
As you'll be aware, for my sins, I sit as our representative on the North Essex Parking Partnership. Other members of the Cabinet have managed to exclude themselves through one way or another, so it ended up with me. I have to say, I think not just myself, but a couple of other members from other authorities as well, we have been doing our best to change the approach of the committee, and quite bluntly, change the approach of some officers who tended to regard it as something, a little sort of thing that they could carry on their own right. So I can certainly give the assurance, and I think we've set it out in the response to the two recommendations, that we will intend it to be open. And I'm also well aware that there is a significant consultation which is just finished, which affects important areas within our district, namely Whittam for one place and Halstead, to mention but two, and one outside here, which I will be taking a very keen interest in, and may find it very difficult not to be vocal at the next NEP committee on that issue. But I think at the moment, thank you for the report that's been carried out, and also I think, as I say, to recognise that the officers working for NEP, now working for NEP, have now got the thing that they are, you know, we are their customers, and it's important that they are open to it. So I'm delighted that you found them open at your committee as well, because I think we would all agree that hasn't necessarily been the case all the time. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for your comments, Councillor Heath. So the recommendations, members, are set out in the report. Are two responses to the recommendations from the scrutiny are set out in the report, and I am asking you to approve those responses. First of all, I formally need a seconder. Is that seconded? Fine, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to make any comments or questions at all? No? If not, do you accept the report and the recommendations? Agreed? Thank you. We now then move to item 12, the scrutiny review into antisocial behaviour. the report and recommendations of the Corporate Policy Development Committee. Colleagues will find this on page 183 of their agenda, and the report will be presented by Councillor Mary Cunningham, the Cabinet Member for Stronger Communities. Councillor Mary Cunningham.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, thank you. Councillor Courtauld, as Chairman of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee, reported to Cabinet on the 22nd of September and brought the report from his Scrutiny Committee on antisocial behaviour. And what we have before us tonight are the responses that I have gone through with officers to the recommendations from that scrutiny review. There were 4 recommendations, and I'm going to briefly go through them with the response. So recommendation 1, the Council to provide and promote the definition of ASB with examples of activities likely to be considered as ASB. And if I can just ask you to note here, in 3.7, it sets out examples of behaviour that could be considered antisocial behaviour, including excessive noise, including dog barking. But I'd like to draw your attention to 2.2 of the policy, which is further on in the report, where there are examples of behaviour that doesn't list dog barking, and we need to seek an amendment to the policy on that. So just to make you aware. So the response, the Council's undertaken a service review which has identified the need to improve awareness of what constitutes ASB, enhance reporting processes and strengthen support for victims and witnesses. Therefore, it's recommended that this is accepted. Recommendation 2, the Council provides a briefing paper to all parish councils within which it provides the definition of ASB and information to support the identification of ASB and how to report such incidents. The response, following the appointment of the ASB and Enforcement Manager, a key priority was the review and redevelopment of the Council's ASB website pages, resulting in the launch of a dedicated ASB portal. The newly created portal provides residents and stakeholders, including parish councils, with the key information to better explain ASB and support with reporting and supporting those who are facing potential ASB. Some of the key areas are within the portal are set out below. Recommendation 3, the Council reviews its policies on ASB with a focus on information and support to victims of ASB. I think this was a particularly strong feelinged one, quite naturally. This should include signposting to third-party organisations who provide support and assistance to victims. This information would also be provided on the Council's website. The response, a review of the previous ASB protocol in 2020 has been completed by the Antisocial Behaviour and Enforcement Manager. This has been superseded by the Antisocial Behaviour Policy 2025 following review and agreement of the amended ASB policy at Management Board. And recommendation 4, the Council should carry out a review of the ASB service to consider the internal resources available and whether any improvements are required in the management of the Council's response to ASB within the district. That actually wasn't accepted because this was completed as part of the Council's own comprehensive review into antisocial behaviour where additional investment has been made. So the recommendation tonight is that Cabinet accepts the recommendations as set out. But if I can just finally say, I think this has been a very timely scrutiny review alongside the service review, and it has given us a real belt and braces approach to antisocial behaviour, which has been a blight for a long time in a lot of communities, and much more information of what is and isn't antisocial behaviour, and much more wraparound support for the victim. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Mary Cunningham. Mary Cunningham has proposed the recommendations. Are they formally seconded? Fine, I open it then for discussion and observations. Councillor Bowers-Flint.
Thank you, Leader. I would just like to say that congratulations should be given to the new antisocial behaviour and enforcement manager. He has made an extreme difference here, and the website now for any member of the public is so easy to read and understand, because as Councillor Mary Cunningham has said, antisocial behaviour is deterred differently with different people, because what may be antisocial behaviour to me may not be antisocial behaviour to you, for argument's sake. So with it all set out on that website as it is now, and with this new policy, I think it's an absolutely fantastic thing, and he has done extremely well. We're lucky to have him. Thank you.
I absolutely agree. We've moved mountains, I think, in the last few months. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Gabrielle Spray.
Thank you, Leader. Just to endorse what Councillor Bowles-Flint has just said, when this was first flagged up to us as members, I did go on to the BDC website and have a look, and I was really impressed with how clear the information is, describing what is and isn't antisocial behaviour. Very good links, particularly providing support for victims, and the layout of it, very easy to follow, very clear. I think it's absolutely excellent, and very well done to everybody involved in that. It's absolute credit to this council, actually, that we've been able to do this. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs Beavis.
Thank you, Chairman, and I also wanted to thank Councillor Mary Cunningham on this report. We spoke earlier on in the Cabinet agenda about our MTFS and the importance of having our finances in the right place, and I really get that, and I really understand the way that you've put that to me as well. But what I would say is, I think a document like this is as important, actually, to take forward into a new unitary authority. I mean, as a long-standing member in my ward, I deal with a whole load of stuff, and have done now for nearly 2 decades. And it can be anything from planning to, you know, just a whole load of stuff. But actually, it's this sort of stuff that goes on in the ward that I represent that people talk about. You know, fly tipping, for example, dog fouling, graffiti. And if it wasn't for the volunteers, I think, of our district, I really don't know where we'd be, quite frankly, because they do so much in supporting us to make sure that we do keep our district clean. I've got a real issue with graffiti at the moment. I don't know how other members are finding in their wards, but we've never had a problem in Sybil Headingham. But over the last couple of weekends particularly, there is an awful lot of graffiti around, and I'm really pleased that this report is going to go to our parish councils, because over the weekend my parish council was sort of saying, well, what do we do about it? Where do we go? Who's going to help us? So I think it's going to be a really useful document going forward. So thank you very much indeed, Councillor Cunningham, for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councillor Beavis. And I can just come back on that. I think recommendation 2, that was one of the issues that parish councils had, and that's been well and truly addressed here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you. I was part of the scrutiny into this, and it was very interesting scrutiny. There was a lot going on, but I think alongside that there was actually some work being done within the council anyway, which is how we sort of got the officer in place, which is why that recommendation sort of fallen, really. But I think it just really was interesting. It raised a lot of issues, in particular the one about supporting the victims, because sometimes we do just think about the perpetrators and how we deal with that, and not think always about how it does affect people. And of course, Councillor Bowles-Flint's quite right that what is unsocial to one person is just normal activity to another, and that obviously makes things quite difficult. But yeah, it was very interesting, and I'm glad that we, the committee have got the support of Cabinet for this. And it will go then to council. Does it go to council or does it remain here? Goes to council.
Goes to council. Goes to council, yes. Okay, any other comments or questions at all? If not, Councillor Mary Cunningham has moved the report and the recommendations. The one minor tidying up is to get consistency between the report and the policy regarding dog barking, which we will do. If that is done, are you happy then to accept the recommendation as set out? Agreed? Thank you. To the end of our agenda this evening, there is no need for us to go into private session because we have covered that when we dealt with item 7. And so I will declare the meeting closed at 8:26. Thank you very much for everyone for their participation, and good night to anyone who might be watching on the internet. Thank you.